Welcome back to Maggie's Cottage. I hope you've been enjoying some of our other videos about our DIY projects, the renovations of Maggie's Cottage, some decorating ideas, and some other fun stuff. I'm so excited about this video. This is actually our third video on showing you how to make a faux fireplace. If you haven't seen our others, please check them out, and please subscribe to our channel. I think you'll enjoy all our videos. This fireplace I'm actually going to make out of an old table. It's a really old table, kind of a Duncan Fife style, that was probably made in the 1940s. It was in pretty rough shape. It's been sitting outside for quite a while, as you can see. It's got some stains and some weathering on it. Pretty bad. My husband actually wanted to throw it away, but I could not throw this away. I was trying to think of what I could do with it, and I had the idea of making another faux fireplace out of it. So first thing was I needed to remove all this wood and old hardware that was on the back and the legs. It had some nice legs that we removed that were kind of beat up, but we're going to use those also. So I had some old screws in all this stuff. I worked and got all of it out. It actually wasn't too bad. It was easier than I thought it was. So I've got my two pieces of table, and then some of the other things that I'm going to use are a pair of the legs that came with the table, some other wood that I got out just in case we need it. I'm not quite sure yet until I start putting it together and making some cuts and things, and some molding that I've had around from some other projects, and a few other things that I really didn't end up using, but I wasn't sure, but I wanted to have everything together, so as we start putting it together I might need to use these things. So we're going to use part of the table as the top of the faux fireplace, and I'm going to use the other part for the mantelpiece. And then we decided we would cut the table and use some of it for the sides, the legs pieces. So first of all, my husband cut the mantelpiece. I couldn't do these projects without him. He's the tool guy and he's really good at it. So you see we cut off one end of one of the pieces and put it on for the mantelpiece. And there's one of the pieces of the legs that we got off. Kind of seeing how it's going to work. We're going to use it as a corbel. So we're kind of seeing what we need. You can see we cut down the top piece a little bit and then cut the other piece in half for the legs. And it's kind of, see how it's kind of raised up on the ground because the table had this little rim underneath it, which is perfect for a faux fireplace. So we're kind of laying it out, seeing what we're going to do. He's using the extra piece that was from the top to cut some strips of wood so that he can put them on the sides like this. So we'll actually make it look kind of like a box. So we're laying it out. This is the first thing you need to do is figure out how you're going to put it together. And you see we have the little legs that he's cut up. I'm trying to hold them up there and show you how they're going to work. But my hubby comes along and helps me out, shows me where they're going to be. Right there. That's where it should be. So we'll end up screwing those in eventually when we put it together. I love that we can use these legs for corbels. So we needed something for the bottom. So these pieces were already beveled and they were actually on the top of the legs. They were a part that was attached to the tabletop. So we screwed those off, put them down, and they were the perfect size to use on the bottom support. So we got all the pieces cut. Now it's time to put everything together, kind of laid out. There's the little mantelpiece cut right there. He's working on the legs, the side pieces, with our strips of wood. So every piece of wood we used to put this together was from the table except one piece, one of these side pieces. So that was really exciting. So he's going to staple that on, and it's going to make kind of like a little box. So the staple gun works really well for these types of things you need to do. Stapling this on the side, you can see it's kind of like a little box. It's turning out perfect. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be to put this together. So we've got the leg pieces. So we're going to lay those out and figure out how to attach those. So we had an idea of using a piece of wood that had actually come off the back. When I was taking all those pieces off the back, unscrewing those, there were these little pieces on the back. And so we're going to take one of these pieces. There it is. Lay it down. It already had holes in for the screws, which was perfect. So just going to screw that in right in the holes. See, isn't this coming together so amazing? And there it is. We've got the side legs on. Still need to add the mantelpiece. It's going to screw that on. Screws are really good for these. Well, first we're going to add the bottom leg. So there's those pieces that we took off from the top of the clawfoot legs that were underneath the table. There's some holes in them, so I'm going to use some wood filler to fill those up, sand those down before I paint it. So he's drilling some holes in it so that when he puts the drills in, it doesn't crack the wood. This is a great idea to do this. So there it is. He's already screwed in the mantelpiece, screwed in the little corbels that were from the legs. Doesn't that look so cute? Of course, it's really rough and rustic. This table was very weathered and in kind of bad shape. I'm going to add some little decorative details. I had this little round piece of decorative thing I'm going to put up there, and then this little wooden decorative piece I'm going to put underneath here. These were from previous things, previous projects that I save. I like to save these little things in case I need to use them sometime. So here it is with the little decorative wood piece underneath, and then we added some of that trim that I had scavenged up from some other things and put that on the bottom where they were put together. Put another little piece up here where the mantle and the back piece come together, and it just looks great. And added some down along the bottom also. And there is a little decorative piece on the top. So we needed to staple that in and also glue it so that it would stay and be nice and sturdy. I am loving the way this is turning out. So it's time to paint. So I'm going to use a primer because this is a mahogany and it bleeds through a lot. There's a lot of stains on it, water stains and things like that. So I'm going to use my little sprayer and spray a primer on it. And this primer that I'm using is actually a gray, which I wouldn't recommend necessarily if you're painting it white, but I'm hoping that when I distress it, some of this gray will show through, and I think it's going to look amazing. So there it is. I used an oil-based primer, which I don't really like to use, but for this project it was good since it had so many stains. And it was Zinsser, which is a nice product to use to help with, so you don't get bleed through and stuff like that. So next I'm going to use some chalk paint, some Rust-Oleum chalk paint, chiffon cream, and I'm going to use that on the whole thing, go over the whole thing now using a roller and a paintbrush. Here's the first coat. Looks pretty good. You can't really see in the video, but you can kind of see some things through it. So I'm going to probably do at least one more coat, probably 3 coats. I usually end up doing about 3 coats of chalk paint on my projects. So here it is. This is about 3 coats of chalk paint. It looks amazing, but there's still some work that needs to be done on it. I'm going to distress it. It's already rustic, and so distressing would be great for this project. So I'm going to use some sandpaper and go over some of the edges and things, and I think that brings out the depth. Here you see it with some sanding. Doesn't that just look amazing? Just some shabby chic looking. It looks amazing, and you can see some of the gray paint underneath it, and see how the distressing brings out some of the details even more, which I love. So my next step is to now wax it, and I'm going to use a clear wax to begin with. Just going to go over the whole thing with this clear wax using a rag. Here it is. Pour it on the rag, rub it around really good, smooth it out. And I'm going to use a dark wax too in some of the little detail places just to make them pop a little bit. I love the way that looks. And here it is, all finished up and waxed. You can see I put some dark wax on these little details, and it just helps pop them and bring them out a little more. Isn't this so cute? I am so happy about the way that it turned out. This is probably one of my favorite faux fireplaces. And like I said, we have 3 other videos on faux fireplaces. Please check those out. I think you'll really like them. And subscribe to our channel. And this is the back of the table. You can still see the old antique table, which I like. And I took it in the house and decorated it up for Christmas, and it looks amazing. I love the way that it turned out. I hope that this gave you some ideas on some things that you can do to make a faux fireplace for yourself. There's so many fun things you can do, and I love faux fireplaces. If you don't have a fireplace, it's a great way to have a fireplace in your home and to decorate it up for the holidays and all the seasons, and I love the way it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it, and please subscribe to our channel. And thank you for watching.